Hi, I'm Roderick.
Hi, I'm Michelle. We are waiting for our taxi. We'll be flying from Jinan to Shanghai very soon.
If you haven't watched our Jinan video, please check it out.
Although we are flying to Shanghai, but this time we're not interested in Shanghai city for now. We are actually touring rural Shanghai this time.
Most of the people who have traveled to China probably have been to Shanghai, one of the biggest cities in China with a 25 million population. But what is the trip like to rural Shanghai? We are going to do some crabbing in Yangcheng Lake, a huge lake which is famous for its crabs.
And we will visit the newest ancient Chinese town called Puyuan town. How is an ancient town be the newest? I will tell you guys in a bit. Our trip is only a short 1-hour flight. We have a friend who is waiting for us in Shanghai. His name is Charlie, and he is our classmate at Michigan State University. He majors in finance, and now he's a private equity fund manager in Shanghai.
This time, Charlie took a few days of work and took us to rural Shanghai. After we arrived at Shanghai Hongqiao Airport, we didn't even waste a minute. We got in Charlie's car and we headed over to Yangcheng Lake in Suzhou, which is 100 kilometers from Shanghai.
After an hour's drive, Charlie dropped us off at our hotel, and we're gonna catch some crabs tomorrow. We found very little information on YouTube about rural Shanghai, especially Yangcheng Lake or Suzhou City, where the lake is located. But the lake is a pretty famous place in China. It's also called the land of hairy crabs, which is also called the Chinese midden crabs. The crab culture in Yangcheng Lake has been over a few thousand years. Ancient Chinese people had already found them to be the best Chinese freshwater crabs. The crabs in Yangcheng Lake taste tender and fresh. It is said that even crabs produced in Zhicheng Lake, only 7 kilometers away, aren't as tasty as Yangcheng Lake. The reason Yangcheng Lake has the best crabs is that the lake isn't super deep or super shallow. It is just the right depth for aquatic plants and algae to perform photosynthesis, which those are the crab's favorite foods.
Hairy crabs are only available in the fall, so the catching season is only from September to November. Now it is late autumn in November, still not too late to catch some fresh, fat Chinese hairy crabs.
Crabs grows on the lake bed, so we do need a boat and a tour guide. There are barely any wild-grown hairy crabs available. Every year's wildly grown crabs definitely can feed tens of millions of eager diners willing to taste the freshness of those crabs at this very special season of the year. So most of the crabs people get and eat are all grown by crab farmers. So we found the Shen's family, a local crab farmer family that lived in this town since their great-grandfather. Shen is a very popular surname in the area. Our friend Charlie's last name is Shen as well. According to our crab farmer Mr Shen, every boat or floating device on Yangcheng Lake is heavily enforced by local police due to its being the most famous lake of hairy crabs. And for environmental protection reasons, you can't launch your own boat or do any wild crabbing. One crab farmer family can only own one boat, and you can't become a crab farmer. Your family have to live in the town for over 30 years for local authorities to give you a boat license plate. If you haven't lived here for generations, probably you won't have a chance to become a crab farmer, even if you're willing to. And due to local regulations, if a local crab farmer took guests to their crab farm, only 2 passengers were allowed on one boat. So we and Charlie have to take 2 different boats.
Let's go and get some crabs. Here is our boat. This is a very solid aluminum boat with no seats. You can see on the side. Or you do have a bench that can be removed in a second. The boat can definitely take more than 3 passengers, but of course, we want to obey the local regulations. Here's Charlie on another boat.
Our 40 horsepower Yamaha did overtake Charlie's 30 horsepower Mercury. After 10 minutes of full throttle, we arrived at the crab farm. Of course, their farm is called Shen's Crab Farm. We are approaching to his farm platform. You can see the farm is very well gated. Mr. Shen is opening the gate door for us.
Here we are at, I would say, the center headquarters of the crab farm.
Actually, the catching procedure is the most easiest part in the whole trip. Here we got some crab traps. And Mr. Shen grabbed some crabs for us. Charlie can't wait to take some fresh ones, which just came out of the water. A mature Chinese midden crab is roughly the size of a human palm. The crab has a dark green back, a white belly with golden claws covered in distinctive brown fur. The plump furry legs and claws indicate the crabs are healthy. They are very aggressive as well. Michelle is even afraid of touching them. She doesn't want to be attacked by those strong claws. Of course, no one want to be attacked by that for sure. Our local farmer, Mr. Shen, told Michelle how to safely hold the crabs. The hairy crabs is renowned for its sweetness, and most famously the crab's golden roll, which is creamy and buttery. In the 9th and 10th months of lunar calendar, usually around October and November, the hairy crabs matures and migrates from its freshwater habitat towards where fresh water meets the Pacific Ocean and reproduces, and baby crabs will return and grow in freshwater lakes and rivers. Our local crab farmer, Mr. Shen, said, there are over 200 crab farmers over here just like him. The crab production and income really depends on the weather. If there are typhoon or very strong wind, the production can be decreased. With the waves from a typhoon, some of the crabs can't molt enough and may end up losing their legs or claws or even die. The best case isn't zero wind. With the gentle breeze, the waves increase the oxygen level in the water naturally, which is the best case for crabs. Check out how many rectangle fences there are on the lake. Each rectangle fenced farm belongs to a crab farm family. In the town, over a quarter of the town's 62,000 residents make their living from the crab industry. A microeconomy springs up every year during the crab season. Nowadays, Yangcheng Lake has been developed beyond just producing hairy crabs. It has become a modern agricultural tourism destination that blends local delicacies, culture experience, and tourist attraction. In this small waterfront town, there are 1,300 crab restaurants. Annually, the hairy crab business generates in value in production of over 3 billion Chinese yuan. which is approximately 412 million US dollars. And although it's not a very big town, but you can see 4 languages, English, Chinese, Korean, and Japanese on the map of this small island called Lotus Island in town. Local authorities estimate that at least 100,000 tourists arrived at the lake area every day on a peak season weekend to enjoy the hairy crabs. Yangcheng Lake, it's about 3 kilometers, 1.9 miles northeast of city of Suzhou, and it is located between Lake Tai and the Yangtze River, which Yangcheng Lake is considered part of the Lake Tai. The Yangcheng Lake covers an area of 120 square kilometers, approximately about 46 square miles. You can also enjoy the natural scenery in Yangcheng Lake. It is a pretty beautiful place to be in rural Shanghai. Yangcheng Lake teems with aquatic wildlife, especially freshwater fishes like salmon, turtles, whitefish, eels, shrimps, and crabs, which altogether they are called 6 treasures in the Yangcheng Lake. Of course, the crabs are the most famous freshwater crabs in China and well known by a lot of Chinese people. Now we got our crabs and we're heading back to shore.
After we all came back to the lake shore, we checked out on our craft we got. Here is more than enough for our lunch. They are all very active.
Our local farmer Mr Shen helped us to pack all the crabs up. He is actually super fast and professional. Soon, all the crabs were packed, and they won't be able to attack you by their claws. Here's all the crabs ready to go. So now we have some time to enjoy the beautiful morning by the lake. In a little bit, we're heading to a restaurant, so we'll let their cook to process the crabs for us.
While we are waiting for our crab, let us try some other local dishes we ordered. We got some scrambled eggs and shrimp and stir-fried river snails. Although they look really small, but they do have lots of meat. This is traditional way on how you eat snails. You use 2 spits to pry on the meat inside, and you got the whole piece out. With stir-fried sauce, it's really delicious. The Yangcheng Lake doesn't just have crabs. The giant shrimp is very famous as well. This shrimp is officially called the lake's #1 shrimp. Look, it's even longer than my hand. To be honest, with that size, I will call it #1 as well. It is even bigger than these shrimps.
Look at the amount of the meat it have. Can't believe that meat is actually from a shrimp, especially a lake shrimp.
Just only with soy sauce, you can taste the freshness. Here's a steamed Yangcheng Lake freshwater fish. It is not a super big fish. The meat is very thin and flaky, very delicate and sweet. Very nice. Finally, here comes our hairy crabs. This is our crab, very nicely cooked. You can see it is not big. Mature freshwater crabs are way smaller than sea crabs. The traditional way of eating hairy crabs are typically steamed without any sophisticated cooking techniques, simply dipping with some ginger and vinegar while consuming. Simplicity is the best way to celebrate them. Some may say that crabs take too much time and effort to eat. The process of disassembling the crab and scooping and scraping every piece of meat from the shell is part of the dining experience that allows you to savor every single bite. The eating process do take some time, and it is not easy to eat crabs elegantly.
So, besides you're going to a fine dining for Alaska's king crab legs, don't take your girl to a crab restaurant while dating.
Here is the crab's roll. You can see it's bright orange and red. It tastes rich, sweet, and creamy, which is the best part of the whole crab. Meat is also very nice. It's creamy and sweet.
In North America, I'm not sure about other cities, but in the greater Vancouver area, you cannot harvest female crabs because they're all well grown and female crabs produce baby crabs. But it is totally different in China. Female crabs are more priced than male crabs because they contain much more roll and they do taste sweeter. It is not because Chinese people don't care about baby crabs. It's because, as I mentioned earlier, you cannot catch wild hairy crabs. They are all fed by local crab farmers, so they have certain volumes of females and male crabs every year to raise and sell. In Vancouver, most of the crabs you got are Dungeness and red rock crabs. They are way bigger because they are sea crabs. Of course, bigger crabs contain more meat, and the meat is sweet and nice as well. But the Dungeness crabs doesn't have or only contain very less tasty crab rolls inside. When we are in Vancouver, we love fishing and crabbing, so we often go out for that as well.
Now we are going to fishing. This morning, the water is super flat.
Yeah, and then we are ready to catch some fish today for dinner.
Maybe for lunch too.
The big difference between two countries is where in Vancouver, if you want to do fishing or crabbing, you can find a dock or take your own boat to a boat launch and enjoy the full wildness harvest. Even though there are fishing charters where you can follow a captain to do fishing or crabbing, but it is very infrequent for you to have a fishing or crabbing farmer who takes you to their farm on the water. In the US or Canada, if you go by yourselves, you might not always get something. There are times that you are on the lake or ocean for hours crabbing and fishing and you don't get a thing, or you just can't get a legal keeper. I guess also because we're not that professional. We only started fishing for a few years. Even you go on a fishing charter, I mean, usually the captains are pretty experienced. You won't really get like nothing. But it cannot be 100% guaranteed due to weather or other facts. Or you might not just 100% get the species you want. While in China, if you go with a local farmer who raises crabs or fish, you will 100% get his crabs or fish on a trip. Obviously, you aren't even allowed to go on Yangcheng Lake and release a crab trap to catch hairy crabs. The hairy crab catch is more like a tourist event more than an actual fishing or crabbing activity because most of the crabs are raised by farmers. They are more like the farmers' properties. Another reason is environmental protection. If everyone is allowed to catch wild crabs, with that much of population coming to get hairy crabs each month, no one will purchase them from the farmers. And also, the lakes will be soon out of wild crabs. That might break the ecological equilibrium, leading to terrible environmental problems. Of course, you are allowed to go wild fishing at lakes or rivers in China, where there are no registered license crab and fish farms. If you fish at their fish farm, which of course will be considered as stealing farmers' property. I'm just saying, in China, especially Yangcheng here, it is a little bit different. due to its very mature crab industry and culture. You do have another option, as you can go to a local farmer's farm in the water, do like a tourist event and get some crabs. Or you can go wild and catch on your own. Probably if you go to another lake close by, you can catch some hairy crabs if you wish, but the crabs won't be as famous as Yangcheng Lake. Actually, which way did you guys prefer for crabbing? Let me know in the comments, please.
Finally, let us talk about the cost of hairy crabs. In a regular supermarket, it is 60 Chinese yuan per crab, approximately $8.25 or 12 Canadian dollar, and they are all live. I won't say it's very pricey, but crabs from Yangcheng Lake do cost more than crabs from other lakes. We bought 6 crabs from Shen's Crabs Farm, as you can see from this episode. They were very kind to give us a discount. We paid them 600 Chinese yuan, which is $82 or 119 Canadian dollar. The price includes taking us to their crab farm. I guess fresh ones that just came out of water are almost double the price of the crab in the supermarket, but we do get the freshest one, so that is a plus. The restaurant where we have lunch at noon charges are 15 Chinese yuan to steam per crab, approximately $2 or 3 Canadian dollar per crab. Considering they only need to put it in a full steamer and wait 20 minutes, I won't say it is very cheap, but of course, it is a restaurant right by the lake. You can enjoy the meal on an outdoor deck watching the lake view, so it does make sense, and with their service, I won't complain.
After lunch, we enjoyed the beautiful view of Yangcheng Lake. Charlie said, Michelle and I took the 40 horsepower boat and he took the 30 horsepower boat to the crab farm, so we overtake him on the lake. He wanted to overtake me in the air, so Charlie and I decided to do a drone race. He has a more fancy, bigger model. He got me right after start. It really has been a lot of fun. Good morning, guys. Now it is the next day. We are heading to Jiaxing City to visit the newest ancient town called Puyuan Ancient Chinese town. We got some local Jiaxing dishes for lunch. Here's our shrimp rice cake and fish fillet. Later, we arrived at the town. No one really lives here. It is a tourist attraction, so we purchased the admission pass, which is 120 Chinese yuan per person. The reason I call this ancient town the newest is that the town was built only a few years ago and opened to public in 2023. So basically the town is only a year old. And now 1/4 of the ancient town is still under construction. Although it is a newly constructed town, this place does have a lot of history. Over 1,000 years ago in the Song dynasty, a very wealthy family came here and built a town. The family's surname is Pu, so the town has been named Puyuan. Yuan basically means someone's yard or property, so the name is Puyuan. Later, in the Yuan dynasty, which is 750 years ago, this town became very famous for silk production and become a renowned commodity economic center at that time. If you are a history fan, you probably have heard the Silk Road. It is a very ancient trading route, active from the 2nd century BCE until the mid-15th century, spanning over 6,400 kilometers, which is 4,000 miles, from ancient China, crossing Central Asia and Western Asia to the Mediterranean Sea, linking China to the West, which carries good and ideas between the two great civilizations back then, which is Rome and China. Silk went westward, and wool, gold, and silver went east. The Puyuan town was built based on the Song dynasty's architectural design. Although the town is basically brand new, the construction team did a very good weathering job, replicating the ancient water town's look from over 1,000 years ago. The water is peaceful, and families live by the small river. We bought some tickets to take the human-powered little wooden boat. It will be very weird with a gas motor inside this ancient town. we are enjoying the clear turquoise water. The water in the town is actually isolated from rivers outside for sanitation reasons and has been purified by a special purified system. It is really an enjoyment to be on this little river, floating quietly and peacefully. Look at all the architectural design. They are actually pretty amazing. If I didn't tell you they are a year old, could you imagine? Charlie just can't stop taking photos on this 1-hour boat trip. After saying thank you to our captain, which is our human-powered outboard, we are back on land again. The first building we saw is this giant temple, which is called Fushan Temple. Fu in Mandarin means blessing, and Shan means kindness, which really sounds a great temple to be in. The original temple was built in the Yuan dynasty, but very unfortunately, it has already been destroyed by war and fight. This is a brand new one built on the exact same location. The temple really looks magnificent and huge. Now, this is the biggest and tallest temple in the Puyuan Ancient town. In the blink of an eye, evening hits. After all the lights were turned on, a unique flavor is added to the ancient town. We are all starving after we exit the town. We went to try another local jiaxing dishes. We got some beef and tripe noodles. Usually noodle in southern China, where Michelle is from, is actually pretty thin, as you can see. And noodles from northern China, where I'm from, are usually pretty thick. Michelle loved this noodle so much. And here are some jiaxing special grapefruit beverages. Never see it elsewhere before. The next day, we went to a local market in Jiaxing City for some clothes because the city and Puyuan town's ancient history about silk and the Silk Road, as I mentioned earlier. Even until today, Jiaxing City is one of the few biggest places to have clothing production manufacturers. Nowadays, the city specializes and it's famous for silk and wool, sweaters, and cardigans, thanks to the history of the Silk Road. Some clothes at retail stores in North America and other countries are made here, and lots of big clothing brands choose here as an original equipment manufacturer. So the prices for clothing are relatively cheaper than other places, and the quality is very good as well. We went to a manufacturer store of wool cardigans. It has a very big showroom. The owner here is a friend of Charlie's client in Shanghai. We can see the store is very busy with customers. Even people from the city hall came here to order uniforms. We did get some new clothes. Michelle is always happy when she got something new. Lastly, here is a bonus for you guys. In the past few days, we have been driving the Chinese Maybach GLS in rural Shanghai. It is actually Charlie's car, and it is called the Huawei AITO M9. You didn't hear it wrong, a vehicle that made by Huawei. Some of you guys might heard of Huawei as a Chinese manufacturer that sells digital telecommunication equipment and smart devices. But you probably didn't know Huawei is also now in the automotive industry. Even I didn't know Huawei makes cars before I came back. When I was in Beijing with my family, I saw the M9 at a Huawei retail store in the mall.
There is the Huawei AITO M9. People waiting in line for hours to check it out. The M9 really seems like a hot vehicle on the market.
We are surprised to find out Charlie bought it as well. Even it is way cheaper than a German-made actual Maybach. But the M9 cannot be considered as a cheap vehicle. Charlie bought it for 510,000 Chinese yuan, which is around 70,000 US dollars or 100,000 Canadian dollars. So I just want to share it with you guys. I don't know why people call it the Chinese Maybach GLS. To me, it doesn't really look like the real Maybach at all, except for the two-tone color of the vehicle. It is actually pretty similar. I guess Huawei is targeting the luxury SUV market. And actually, Huawei did a great job. It is one of the best-selling luxury SUVs at this price category in China. I have been driving it for the past few days. The performance of the M9 is actually higher than my expectations. It got pretty comfortable massage seats, especially the second row, and the handling is pretty good as well. It also has the full self-driving feature like a Tesla, which stops itself on a red light, reverse into parking spaces, and navigate in tight gaps. And it actually performs pretty well in China's rush hour traffic. The vehicle has a very high sense of technology. The LED matrix lights are actually pretty fancy. And sound isolation is pretty good when you close outdoors. And it actually have a very amazing Huawei sound system. Not really at Maybach level, but it is actually not bad at all. It is an EV, but an extended range electric vehicle. So basically there is a gas generator that produces electricity to the high voltage batteries, and all four wheels are not connected to the engine. The electric motors are responsible for the propulsion of the M9. So it is different from an actual regular hybrid vehicle in which the engine powers the wheels directly. We stopped at a highway rest area and charged the vehicle. We can open the charging door by pressing it. And here comes the cable into the vehicle, nice and tight. We download the app and scan the QR code on the charging machine. Now the M9 is drinking lots of electricity. I do have an EV myself in Vancouver, but this is my first time charging an EV in China. Then we went into the rest area. Could you believe this is an actual rest area on a highway? This is the Jiaxing City Highway Rest Area. It just looked like a mall with some quick food. Very nice place to spend time while charging your vehicle. I guess you can buy a funny Chinese car that have a screen on the tailgate in a rest area of a highway. Interestingly, we found that the charging ports was very different. In North America, we have the SAE J1772 as level 1 or level 2 and CCS for DC fast charging. But in China, either regular charging or fast charging ports are all different. I don't know what does this standard means, but it go by the GB/T standard in China. Today is like a brief short sharing for you guys. If you guys are interested in fancy intelligent Chinese cars, let me know. I do work in the automotive industry when I'm in Vancouver, so I probably can provide some interesting thoughts about them. If you guys like, I will make an episode about different brands of modern Chinese smart cars. They are so different from the Chinese cars I have known about a decade ago.
Thank you for watching till the end. Your support can help us produce more quality contents. And please give me a minute to introduce ourselves. Hi, I am Roderick.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
We are a Chinese couple who lives in Vancouver, Canada. We both spent 6 years in the States at Michigan, attending grade 11 and grade 12 in high school, and get our bachelor's degree in Michigan State University. Then we moved to Canada and get our permanent residency in 2018. We deeply love and believe that North America is our amazing home and will be our final destination.
However, we have had our travel around the world dream since we were a kid. So we both quit our stable good paid job in Vancouver and tried to follow our dreams.
First, we decided to travel to China. It is the country that both of us were born in, but we didn't really have a chance to explore it a lot. Time flies. It has been 13 years since we haven't been back to China. And now it is the time that we explore a lot of interesting places and things. We went from north to south, From day to night, from mountains to rivers, from seacoast to the Tibet Plateau, we gained a lot of happiness and amazing memories, exploring the profound meaning of life.
Our channel is to share our adventures while exploring different cities and countries. The world is bigger than you think, and the life is too short to do boring things. So please join us and come along with our amazing trip together.
And don't forget to click the subscribe button so you won't miss out our new video updates.